So I've been sitting with my broad thoughts on the Umbrella Academy for the last week or so. And it's super simple, but at the end of the day, half the cast to me is just kind of boring. And it's not any fault of the actors. I want to like Allison. I want to like Luther. I want to like Diego. They don't want me to like them. The problem with, to me, the problem seems to be that they're having a real hard time marrying the characters' personal struggles, which mostly are actually interesting, to the actual plot of the show. Like, beyond getting them ready for whatever they're gonna face next, it doesn't matter what happens with Allison's husband or her connection to the civil rights movement that she's established in this timeline. It doesn't matter. Any of Luther's personal struggles, as he got taken down several pegs last season and hasn't recovered. Obviously, these things matter because we want them to get over their personal struggles so they can again participate in the main plot, but only for that reason. And they're just, even though I am generally interested in these plots, they're also not written to be very fun characters for the most part either. Like, you have all of the charisma in the world being given to 5, oddly enough. And they're just refusing to spread the love a little bit on that one. Like, 5 is a fun character to watch. He is their closest equivalent to, like, a Dr. House or a Sherlock. Or, which, ironically, Dr. House is a Sherlock type. I'm trying to think of a not. Or a Dr. Cox, even. Like, he is the big character in this show. And there are a few that are trying to be big characters. Like your Hazels and Cha-Chas. Really, anyone from the commission really are bigger characters because they're allowed to have a little bit more fun in their roles. They are really struggling to keep me on board here because, yeah, they're written to be a little boring, too. In a way, at this point, I didn't have this big of a problem in season 1, I think, because I was getting introduced to these characters and I wasn't as bothered by this. It just feels like we're spinning in circles, waiting for these characters to get where they can be so that they can be a bigger part of the plot and, be extravagant! I'm just sitting here waiting for scenes with 5 or Klaus. And Klaus is affected to a lesser extent because it's the same issue with him. But he's also got such a huge personality that I'm not as bothered. I think of shows like Game of Thrones, which also had characters going through their own personal struggles, but even the more boring characters in Game of Thrones, like Robb and Catelyn Stark, is my go-to examples of characters that were boring. We're infinitely more capable of maintaining investment because their decisions affected the plot. Not just their own personal growth, they married their own personal growths to what was going on with all the other characters. And I guess that's the thing in the Umbrella Academy is like the stuff with Dave and Klaus. Whatever happens there has no bearing on any other character but Dave and Klaus and Ben to a lesser extent. What happens with Allison and her husband, like, beyond other characters caring about Allison, literally no effect, no matter what happens on any of the other characters. Or the plot of the show with the apocalypse stuff. It's way too huge of stakes, by the way. 2 seasons in a row. The stakes are too big. I feel like this show would be a lot more fun if it was way dragged down from this apocalypse plotline. I really hope seasons 3, and I think there's a 4th season, right? Can step away from everything having to be about the end of the world. It's not. I even like the performances of the boring characters, because at this point I'm prepared to even say Vanya is a boring character. Like, there is interesting plotline, and I do like Elliot Page's performance, but just have a little life to you. Everyone also seems a little stupid. Like, they're not written like characters who were trained to be superheroes or given a rigorous education when they were younger. Like, they can still do different flavors to all these people without this being an issue, but it's especially Diego that gets to me. Like, I do not understand his personality getting to this point. Really, I wish we could see a through line for how different aspects of their trainings got them, and their upbringings got them to the point of characters that they are. Because they don't feel like they were raised in the same household by the same psychotic person, which is what Reggie was. And you'd have branching aspects to their characters, but they just feel like 7 random characters who have been just tossed into this mix, and there's no through line for me to say, oh, I understand the diverging point for you as a person, as a human being. And a lot of this would be easier for me to get over if I understood, like, why Allison wanted to be an actress. The actress thing at this point just feels like a vehicle for them to give something for her to feel bad about having used her powers, rather than something that character chose because it's something that character wanted. I think we're gonna get a little bit more on this. So reserve judgment, but why Klaus so dramatically turned into the type of drug addict that he is. Why Luther? They do go into a little bit with Luther, with generally being closer to Reggie. Why Luther was so much more gung-ho than the others about, the whole saving people and, the world and duty aspect of it. Why Diego ended up just being a vigilante in the mold of, like, a Batman. Which they could have done so much more with, by the way. I think it kind of ties into the aspect of they made him kind of dumb, so it's not... I think it's supposed to be funny how incompetent he is, but still doing all this vigilante stuff, but it just kind of comes off as lame after a while. And now they got spending the entirety of season 2, by the way, just being kind of a dipshit with his plan to maim Oswald, and spending the entire time being fooled by, I don't remember her name offhand, but Lila? Might be Lila. It's just, it feels like a waste of time that we could be spending advancing his character or doing more interesting or fun things with him. Because I never really, like, he had the cop in season 1, they were establishing that he was building a relationship there, but it really, why does this character struggle to build natural relationships? Why is it only someone he can either never be with because he's created a situation where that's impossible within season 1, or literally someone who's manipulating him in season 2. Why are we doing this with his character? Why is he stupid? Broadly, why are so many of them so stupid? Smart characters are usually a lot more fun. I guess the most unforgivable character being stupid is both Vanya, who's just not as curious as she probably should be in general, and Klaus. Klaus would be a much more justifiable character, his positioning in the story, if he was much smarter and it was a wasted intelligence, but he's just kind of in the same wavelength of all the others. Just also a drug addict. So and all of this isn't even just because it would be better writing from if there were smarter characters. It's just I just want it to be fun, and half the time they're not. That they're just kind of playing at the whims of other characters. They have no agency. Still, it feels like the only important things are happening because 5 is driving the plot. I think I'm resting on these annoyances because the Swedes also aren't as fun bad guys as Hazel and Cha-Cha were. I don't really care about the handler either. I think she's fine, but it kind of ties back into my desire to get away from the apocalypse stuff. The stakes of the show are way too big that I don't care. It's like, you can build up to an apocalypse storyline, but it absolutely should not have been their first season or their second season, and it's both. You can do both, but I think they fucked up with their stakes. If their stakes were smaller, I could envision a reality where, better written, I could get into the individual personal struggles more of all the characters. But half of them have to be like, we're gonna die in a few days anyway, like... Or, like, Allison. Why is she gung-ho about making this particular protest go well? Like, I wouldn't mind it. But, like, she damn well knows that Kennedy's gonna get assassinated. And if they could come up with a reason, a logic that justifies her thinking, yeah, this is gonna be okay, this'll work, if they could give that to us, I'd be on board. I'd think, all right, she's thought it through. Maybe it won't work because it's TV and there's things that the writers wouldn't have considered, but they tried to give me a reason. But it's just... God. All of this would be forgivable if outside of the one scene in episode amazing fight or dance scene that they do, the show just knew how to have more fun more often. Like, yeah, it's at the end of the day, it would all be fine. You don't have to make a good TV show if you can just make it fun. And if more characters behaved like 5, the show would be more fun. Ah.